Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed podcast. Thank you, Priscilla, so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
I love being on podcasts, and I got to tell you, it's a labor of love for people who do this. It's so much work. People don't see it. So if you love this podcast, go give Shannon and the team some love, give them a rating, give them a review, something, because it does take a lot of time, but it's a very cool way to share advice. So I'm super happy to be on. Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much, Priscilla. Yeah, it is lovely to have a fellow podcast host on the show. I know it's definitely. I know there's gonna be a definite upbeat attitude because you know that's how it's done. But yeah, this is super exciting. So I hope that this is fun. I hope this is a fun podcast to participate in.
I only do fun podcasts. That's all.
Heck yeah. No, that's exactly. You shouldn't be joining the unfun ones. So today we're going to start with a game. I like to change my games in mind with the guest. So this hopefully you love it. If you don't tell me. My feelings would be hurt.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. For this game, with Little Bird marketing in mind, this game is called Birds of a Feather.
Oh.
So I am going to give you some little phrases of birds of a feather, and then I'm going to ask you a question associated with them. Does that sound
Okay. Oh gosh. I mean, I hope I'm on brand here. Go
No
on.
worries. It is not a quiz. It is all opinion based.
We do a lot of bird quizzes in-house for prizes, so I should know some stuff anyway.
I will be asking you about that after this for sure. Okay. First one is Birds of a Feather binge together. What's a show that you love that you would love to binge with your team?
Binge with my team?
Yeah.
Probably Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Because it's like there's these insane scenes, and I mean the new Netflix one, not the old movie. But there are so many times that we get out at events, or like, you're dealing with multiple clients, multiple people, trade shows, bespoke dinners, all these kinds of things. And there's so many personalities involved, and you go into it with one thing, and then it's just like, it's like a kill session or something. And I think that like my whole team, like I feel like we've gone to war together before. And I think if there's like the end of some of the scenes in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, when you like, it seemed like it started like a normal day, and then at the end it's just like the whole thing is just like a complete, like you could not have determined that you would have gotten from point A to point B, and then the only thing, like there's nothing you can say about it. Sometimes they just look at each other and it's just this knowing look. And, I refer to it as like, client, employees of mine who have been with me forever. I mean, I have people who've been 10 years and 6 years, and, and we just look at each other. It's just like the knowing glance, it's just like, of course this happened,
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Like it's the Murphy's Law of like anything
and it's just so funny. It's not always bad, but it's always just like, what just happened to us, and just kind of like, but it's something you share in common. So I think we would find that pretty funny.
No, I love that. That was a great example. And that is marketing. That's just kind of what it is.
It's like, how did we get here?
Yeah, how did we get here? Expect the unexpected. Yeah. Okay. That was great great for that one. Okay, next one. We have Birds of a Feather read together. What book would you want everyone in marketing to read at least once? It does not have to be marketing related. It could just inspire a marketer.
Yeah. Well, 100%, and I've required it many times. I have a long list, but I would put at the very top of it Annie Lamont's Bird by Bird, because it's about doing, and also it's very on brand.
You're really on brand with this game, and also those.
I'm killing it. But it talks about, like, she had a report due, and she procrastinated it, and then her dad, she had this huge report on birds due the next day at school, and at the end her dad says to her, just like, Annie, bird by bird, and it's like, just do it one by one. And I just think marketing can be so overwhelming, and working with a team, just like there's no one thing in marketing anymore. It's just a million actions you have to take. And I just remind people, just bird by bird, right? But it is thoughts on writing. And I think really good marketers anymore are very good writers. And so and writing is one of those elusive talents. It's like, what exactly makes a good writer? It's not, again, it's not one thing. But I do think it's about, like, she gives really amazing advice, and she's a fantastic writer. And it's a short little book. So some people who kind of come to me and are like, I'm not a big reader, like, you could read this one. It's short, it's to the point. It doesn't, doesn't give like inflated advice. I really love it. So Bird by Bird by Annie Lamott. I love it.
I will definitely keep that in mind because I am a big procrastinator, I would say. When I'm someone
And
that's very overwhelmed with a task, it's like it's so much more daunting to be able to get through. It always ends up happening. I'm very good under pressure, but it's it's not ideal. I need to learn better. Okay, next one. Great on brand, by the way. Okay, birds of a feather create together. What's the wildest brainstorming idea you've ever been a part of?
well, I'm in the part of one right now. It's not the CEO, and I don't want to give away my thunder here, but I'm doing a project with my family. I have 4 older sisters and mom and dad who are very creative. And I created a completely fictitious explorers club. It's not trapped in a certain time, but I have a big box. I mean, I got my Cricut out. I'm out. Created this box. I'm doing fake journals from, and I'm the cartographer. I'm doing maps and coloring maps and all this stuff. And I wanted something for my family to do together. And so I'm putting together this whole box. I called a meeting 2 weeks ago, and I was like, welcome, intrepid explorers. And it's this idea we'd love to go on this exploration together, but we all we all live somewhere and work somewhere, and
Yeah.
we're not geographically together either. And so I've created this whole imaginary world, and so I'm almost done with it. It's almost going out the door. And what it'll go is, like, the box will go around in 3 phases, and it'll be, first of all, like, us recommending people who should go on this exploration, which obviously it'll be all my sisters and my mom and dad. But, like, what role would they have? Like, we need this person to sew the flag. We need this person to be the navigator. We need this person as the botanist, and all these things. So everybody's going to pick roles and do costumes and, like, send their pictures in it. I mean, it gets crazy. So I could talk about it forever, and probably not the purpose of this podcast,
No,
but
this
you know,
sounds so cool.
and I'm in a creative business, and listen, it is overwhelming when you're running a marketing team, running creatives, and you can lose sight of that in your day to day, and you need to have things like that fuel you and feed you. And I just was really lacking that in my personal life. I'm like, I've got to do something physically with my hands. I need to be able to step from a screen. I'm so tired of looking at a screen. And so I really needed to do something that was very hands-on. And so that's fun, to sit and watercolor a map of a land that doesn't exist, so pretty fun, pretty fun.
Oh, I can really relate to that too because yes, I work remotely, so all of my work is done on a laptop. I'm not really like even if I'm on a call, it's a podcast or it's a partner call, and I do crave crafting way more than I feel like I did previously. And I used to play video games. Like I was a very video game centered person, but I was like, I cannot keep looking at this screen after work. I need to just get off and do something, and I 100% relate. I think even if it's just, exercise, it doesn't even have to be crafting or whatever. I think just something that you're not looking at a screen for after work is really healthy.
Well, I'm a huge reader, and I travel tons for work. And so, of course, a Kindle is just so much better.
I
I
know, but it's
moment the moment I'm home, the Kindle gets set down and I get a real book, because
Mhm.
it's convenient and it's lovely and it's very helpful. It's such a great tool, but I need a physical book, in between. So when I'm home, if I'm sitting on my couch, I've got a physical book in my hand.
I completely understand. I was actually so hesitant to get a Kindle because of that exact thing. I actually finally just got one in the last couple of months, but I have been hoarding books in my house. And the only reason I got it was for space
Yes,
reasons because I can't fit books in my apartment anymore.
fair.
So, okay, we're going to end our game here because we're doing so well already. So, what I want to hear from you is since we're doing all the on-brand games, I want to know why Little Bird? Why is this the name of your agency?
Oh, that's a good question. First of all, 3 weeks after the Joplin tornado, my creative studio burned to the ground. So
Oh,
that was a moment, and
that
I'm
makes sense.
yeah, I'm standing on the sidewalk, and the name, the building. I mean, it was so hot, the bricks burned, and just like came undone, and the sign is melted, and I got to rename it, and I got to restart. And not everybody gets that opportunity. And yeah, it was hard, but I see that moment as a real inflection point. And I got to rename it. And what I wanted was for us as a company to have a very close knit relationship, a very insider's view with our clients. And I only wanted to work with clients who wanted to feel that way about their clients as well. I specialize in B2B. And so we're not trying to sell a million lipsticks. We're trying to sell 15 $250,000 projects a year.
Mhm.
So it's not, we're not like just selling widgets. And so it requires a little bit more focused approach and a little bit more of an insider feeling. And when you have really good news, you usually start by saying, a little birdie told me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news, but also what people don't realize about that phrase is it also means that you're somehow on the inside, that someone thought to tell you that you're somehow more special because you were told.
Mm.
Good news, but you have this good news because of your connection to someone else. And so to me, that little bird marketing was like, I wanted to attract those people who wanted to have those special relationships with their own clients. And I wanted to have those with ours. And so I don't try and get tons of clients. I try and get very few, but the right clients to work with us.
No, I love that. That's a really great vision. Was little birdie taken? Because usually I hear little birdie told me.
Yes, a little bit, but yeah, I no, I think I wanted like birdie on there, but little bird marketing was just like it was enough of a nod to it. And I'm a big Portlandia fan, so that was pretty. That to me was also I like the sense of some dada or some humor or something. I like a little bit of the whimsical, so tried to kind of make it a little bit different.
I love that, and it is really inspirational to have been able to restart everything, like, from s that's terrifying. What kind of advice would you, provide to someone who had to do that themselves?
Wow. I think at that point, especially it coming after a real, large natural disaster, you do what you can for who you can, as much as you can, the best you can. You really stay in the moment. When it all happened, I did take like a 2-week trip. I got out of town. I went and met with other agency owners and just tried to get out of my my little life, my little
Yeah.
bubble. And I'm sure that was very stressful on my husband and my family at that time, but I just couldn't imagine like the next stage. So I had to go take a little breather, and I did that and got a new inspiration. And I would say, we're so fast. We have almost zero margins I hesitate to say modern life, but it is true. We
Yeah.
don't leave ourselves much space. We don't leave the margins. We don't have thinking time. We don't have thinking weeks. We don't have these kinds of things. It's you run almost on empty. And so I guess my advice is, pad some stuff, even like what I'm saying about this hilarious crafting project. Some people might be like, what a waste of time, but it's not, because your brain as a tool, it needs it. I
Yeah.
don't care what it is. If you want to knit, if you want to go run, if you want to go whatever it is you want to do, your brain needs that break. And I would say, maybe if you're feeling depleted, if you're not inspired, or you don't have that vision for what's next, maybe you need a break.
Mhm.
Maybe you need to let your brain do something that is nonsensical for just a bit so that you can come back and make a lot more sense.
Yeah, no, I love nonsensical and absurdity involved in one's life. I think that I'm a big supporter of maintaining childish whimsy. And I think that if you maintain that in adulthood, you'll be so much happier. I think that things being related or like associated with being like a child is really arbitrary a lot of the time. And so like to even have those moments in your day where you can like snicker at something that is, like maybe an adult shouldn't be laughing at, I don't know. But I think like even just having like letting yourself have little moments where like you're allowed to be human or like separate yourself from just a professional or work mindset at all times is something that can be helpful too, because it's really hard when you're like what you described, having being almost overwhelmed with constantly on go with plans and scheduling and whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And just giving yourself those little moments at the very least, if you have to have a schedule like that, is, can give you some semblance of peace and happiness within all of the go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, having gone through that experience, was there anything that you changed about like your leadership or like how you wanted to run a business, having like had that time to maybe think about like what you wanted to do and having talked to other people?
Yeah, I think this is kind of interesting because it really leads into a pretty massive failure on my part, and I don't think we talk about that kind of stuff a whole lot. But at that
Love talking
point,
about failures. We should talk about them more. They happen all the time.
I have lots of stories to pull from, so we can do that. But I'm 15 years in, and I'm looking back, and I can see really kind of a larger failure there. At that time, part of my vision, I really wanted to create a local creative studio. The legal name of my business is called Soul Garden. And I wanted to be able to have a wholehearted life. I wanted to be able to come to work and be myself. I really wanted to be able to create a very a dynamic and fun, environment that was very detail oriented, very very driven to excellence, where people were self-motivated for that. I really tried in a lot of different ways to build the team up like that and to scale the company in that way. And looking back on it now, I realize, I failed to do that. At this point, I feel like I have a wonderful team, but they're not here locally. We're not together. And yeah, you could say part of that might have been COVID, and it's just like the insanity that happened to all of us after that. But I fought that a lot. I don't really like that completely remote work. I think it's really bad for younger professionals. I don't think it's good for us as humans. I'm a cultural anthropologist, and I don't think that that's how we were designed to live or be. And so I really tried to scale. I tried so many different ways. I'd say wasted, but I've spent so much money and wasted probably so much money trying to create that special something in person. And whether it's a failure of my own leadership or a failure of, who I hired, or a combination, together, I was never able to create that. And then obviously coming up against the wall that was COVID, that just kind of, and it didn't die right away for us, but I've given that dream up. And I think that's, as you go through your career, many times there are some inspirations, some visions, some dreams that you do have to give up. And other things are more important to me. But it is one thing that I realize, I look back and go, well, I failed to do that. That was how I perceived that it could exist. And it was a failure. And I don't need to couch it or make it okay or whatever. I'm not pursuing that now. Now I have a great remote team, and we use, I only hire the very highest level. Everybody else is freelance. And that's not what my dream was. But it is far more effective. It has been a huge win. It is far more profitable, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad that you can't have a lot of young people learning and experiencing the water cooler moment and developing relationships face to face. There's so much that it is possible, and it can be really good. But I think, maybe it's also, there has to be, special leadership for it, or I don't know. I don't know exactly what the reason was, but that's something that I think is an interesting story, an interesting twist. And I think, I do have good questions I can ask people and help them kind of understand, do they want to scale, or do they want to, be like that skeleton model and that and including a lot of specialty people who are not really full-time and not, or that they're just freelance. Say just, like, as if that's something negative. It's not negative, but people get their world the way they want it. Yeah, but I think we lose something. I think we lose something in society for not having the workplace.
No, I 100% agree with that. I think that there is like almost this mourning of that kind of environment that we're going through right now, specifically with it's so interesting specifically with agencies where when they began, they had this semblance of more of that than like a traditional corporate office environment, like more of this camaraderie, more of this personality. Like they were built for a purpose that was camaraderie, almost like to be similar minded people in one space, because that was the luxury of like having a small business like that, or like scaling even that you can hire who you want and all these different things rather than just for that role but for that um what's the word I'm looking for, the the feeling of the
Yeah, the
feeling.
community, the sense of, yeah, you mentioned it, like camaraderie or whatever. Yeah, I mean, I miss afternoons where someone was sneaking hot sauce into your coffee, and you're dang it, they got me
Oh,
again, and these kinds of things. It's a miss, but the thing is that it's kind of like one of those things you don't know what you got until it's gone.
yeah.
I had,
Mhm.
younger people just like insisting that they wanted to be remote. They wanted to be remote. And then literally after 6 months of being remote, they would quit. Say, well, I want to have an office.
They're sad. Yeah, no, it is a little.
You got what you wanted, and
Mhm.
now you don't like what you want. And yeah, so it's really hard. And like I say, I'm not, blaming, people. I think we have like a real combination of, people have to contribute. They realize you can't just also look to an employer and say, well, you provide everything for me. You have to come into an office and you have to learn the behaviors of how you add. Like,
Yeah.
what are you bringing here? And
Mhm.
so now it's a little bit harder. Of course, we do that, and we have a fantastic team right now. And it's just, get together very regularly. We start all of our meetings with talking about joy, what's joyful in our lives, and what's good and what's new, and really trying to make that connection. So you can certainly do it. I don't think the whole thing is dead, but
Yeah.
I do think there's something special about being together.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It is something that is it's a very strange transition to have with kind of the complete opposite environment. Like it makes almost more sense for a very cookie cutter corporation to become remote because they already are very structured in the way in which they do things. But I feel like agencies have always been that place of fostering creativity and innovation and discussion constantly. And it's weird when you can't, like lean over to your colleague next to you and tell them an idea that you have, now you can do it via Slack.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, I can't tell you how many times in the office I'd be walking by somebody's, computer screen in the creative pit and be like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! What'd you just do? You just undid something. Wait, 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 go back. Oh my God, it was so great!"
yeah,
You know,
like where are you?
and they would have missed it, or yeah, getting together in the conference room and looking through new logos and ideas and brainstorming and those kinds of things. So yeah, I mean, I miss it.
No, it's okay. I mean, I think it's really hard to maintain. I wouldn't even like
Yeah,
consider it maybe even a mistake. I think it's just very difficult for really anyone to run a business in that way at this point in time. I think that there's a preference and like an allure to remote in like flexibility of lifestyle and different things like that. And that's why many people probably prefer it now and
yeah.
they're used to it.
Fortunately, a lot of it's going to go away because of AI. So they've kind of painted themselves into a corner. So I know, yeah. It's like, I think what's sad about it is I don't need it. I'm 53 and I'm entering into the very last era of my work life, and I
Mhm.
don't need that.
Yeah.
But if I were 23, I'd be desperate for it. And so
Yeah.
it does make me sad. It's like I'm not really going to miss out, and I'm not going to be. I won't be working at this time to be displaced by AI. We're all being displaced or changing, but I only have enough years where I'm going to be able to bend with the arc. But
Mhm.
aren't, and now they're not networked, and now they're not connected, and now they're not socialized to it, and so I think it's really put them at a terrible disadvantage.
Yes, I am terrified of the education
Are.
piece. Um,
Well, and beyond that, here are the ones that are still in school are being told, "Don't use AI." I'm like, "Why? That's the only thing that you're gonna need
you're
to
gonna
know how to
need to
use."
yeah, but
And
then you're like, are they when they're learning it, are they sacrificing learning skills, like, that develop their brains properly?
yeah, and there's something to be said for both sides, but, that barring them from being able to use the one tool that everybody is going to require of them to have day one, since there will not be any more entry-level jobs, it's gonna be pretty tough. I don't know how we got down this path, but
It's so scary. It's okay, we get into the philosophical side of things all the time, so I really enjoy those discussions, to be honest. It's, we're all thinking it, and we don't talk about it enough, and, maybe there everyone has a little, fear or concern in their hearts about what the workplace will become, but it's, the more we talk about it, the more we kind of I think, understand each other that we all have the same worries and concerns, and so maybe at some point we'll have some kind of my hope is that we'll have some kind of revolution, in which we will go back to in person because people crave human connection, and I think that it happened a little bit after COVID. I think there was a bit of a burst for that like crave for structure or just be community. And I think so many more events popped up after that. And so I think that it does really happen when you have like a dramatic effect of
Mhm.
something that you have the lack of capability of meeting people or seeing them in person. And so that's my positive outlook and hope for the future. But there's no problem with getting on this topic. So, well, what I do want to talk about is like, so having created this internal team, what do you think is the most important for that? That like it could be personal or it could be what you'd recommend. Like creative talent, strategic thinking, or like discipline, like operational discipline. What do you think is the biggest um reason for success for a team?
Mm. Well, I would say all of those, but yeah, you're asking for something a little bit more singular. I would say there's a mindset I like to share all the time is that we always have to remember our thing's not important. Our client's thing is important. And
Mhm.
start, getting going on our own job and our own, special how, unique our little snowflake is, we're already missing the boat. We have to remember that we're only here in order to make money for our clients. And I think one thing that's sorely missing in marketing, in creative and really running an agency and those things, what's really missing often is the recognition of how these companies actually make money. What is the revenue picture?
Mm.
One thing that I could, say, whether that's to young people or even, peers of mine who have been going along in their career and yet feel like maybe they're stuck, I wonder often if they really understand the financial side of business. I think financial literacy is woefully under taught. And yet we have all these tools people could go teach themselves. They could go learn how to read a P&L. They could understand EBITDA. They could look at lead gen and look at percentages of how much money should be spent in marketing. These are all things that are available for free that I could not have access to, right? When I in business. You could, I mean, just what people have access to, and I'm not saying kids have access. I mean, even I at 53, I have access to really refined keynotes from experts that you can network with almost anybody. You can reach out and just talk with someone. It's just almost outrageous. So when someone stays in ignorance, I am very worried about where
Yeah.
they're in their career. It's like, before we used to say, well, you could Google it. Well, you could YouTube it. Well, you could, just do what you're doing, reach out and ask someone, who's an expert in a field for a podcast interview. A lot
Yeah.
of people are amenable to helping other people, but it's not going to be served to you on a silver platter. And I guess
Mhm.
I would be saying, what is the number one thing is to go out and get the learning that you need, figure out where is your gap and go get it because it's not
Mhm.
my job to go get it for you.
Yeah, no, there are so many tools available to people in which there is some people have this expectation that it's just going to come to them, I think, and that's a big detriment to,
Yeah.
their learning experience and their career path.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to be in content marketing, go get all the free HubSpot trainings done. If you want to, learn about crypto, go download every, major expert talking about it. Like if you want to be in an agency, then listen to 8 podcasts. I mean, like it just blows my mind that I ask people, they have these things, oh, well, I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, what have you read? What have you written? What have you listened to? What? Nothing, 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 nothing. And so, in any kind of interview, usually I ask people, just give me the last 5 books you read. Okay. Tell me the last 5 podcasts you read. Just, and no pressure. Just go into your phone and tell me what they are, and there aren't any. That's how I know I'm done with that interview because it's not a learner if they don't see the responsibility to make their thing not important, but to make, the actual job or the advancement of the company and therefore the advancement of our company's clients.
Mhm.
That has to be very important. So in not showing initiative and learning something like that, to me that's really key about how a team advances.
I completely understand that. I think that especially in the agency environment, you're very much expected to be aware of many hats, and in that you need to be not only like always in the pursuit of knowledge, but being excited about learning new things because the environment and the dynamic between you, your colleagues, whatever it may be, if you don't care about those different avenues and like exploring them and and see the value in it, then you're not going to work well.
So funny, and you can never lose that. I was kind of chased down a hall last week in Chicago at a conference. Someone was like, hey, someone told me I need to talk with you about, like, I think you're the solution to our marketing issue, whatever. I'm like, let's sit down, grab a cup of coffee. And I sat down, talk with her, and she's talking, and I'm like, just let me listen. Just help me understand. And then she's like, okay, I've said enough. I need you to tell me what you do. And I'm like, oh my God. And I at some point, I just started laughing with her because I'm like, I am so excited about this opportunity. I'm like almost embarrassing myself. I'm a successful CEO who really, can pick and choose what work I do. And I am just about falling all over this gal because we're a really good fit. And we were having so
Yeah.
much fun talking back and forth. And you can see that excitement on people. And honestly, people want to work with people who are excited and
Yeah.
passionate and feel the onus for them to imagine things and take the time and understand how things fit together.
Yeah, I think that there is this like beautiful thing about speaking with someone who you're, excited to learn and grow with, or also just someone who's smarter than you. Every day I talk to people that are smarter than me on the podcast,
Mhm.
meeting for different calls, etc. And it is so exciting. There will people that I'll have on the podcast that'll talk about these technical components of AI in which I cannot fathom, but I'm so excited about it. I I am so excited to get to learn about something that I don't know about already. It is such an incredible experience and it's a privilege. So it is just I completely understand the sentiment that you have about that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Oh, I think this is a perfect place to stop because we're a little over time, but this was so fun. We got to talk about philosophy, we got to talk about excitement for learning, and how you built your team for success. And I think this was a really great chat. I really appreciate you joining me today.
Absolutely. It's fun to reach out. And it's just, these are the kind of dynamic moments people kind of just say, well, if you reached out to Priscilla, what would she say? Well, you can't know that until you reach and then coming to it and saying, well, I'm not putting exact guidelines on it. I want to just see where this conversation goes. That's about respecting people and it's about building a network and it's about really, having some understanding. So I appreciate your time, putting something together, just your curiosity and reaching out to people and wanting to continue to learn. I think it's super important. So I wish you the best of luck with it. And I'm serious, everybody who's listening to this podcast, you need to go give Fully Managed a 5-star review and give them a little love for the work that they do. But thank you so much for having me, Shannon.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, and thank you everyone for watching. Take that as a threat. Priscilla's threatening you. but but thank you guys so much for listening. We'd be nothing without you. So please check out other episodes and check out Priscilla in the description. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.